So, having looked at pancreatic acinar cells, and we know that they're constitutively active. They're stimulated by cholecystokinin, acetylcholine, secretin, VIP, and a fatty meal causes an increase in luminal cholecystokinin releasing factor, causing cholecystokinin release, which stimulates which stimulates the acinar cells to secrete the zymogens and lipases. Now let's look at the pancreatic duct cells. Remember, these are the cells that line the ducts, the intercalated ducts. Intralobular, interlobular, and main duct. So what do? Well, the pancreatic duct cells, similarly to the salivary glands, they modify the secretions by secreting bicarbonate. So pancreatic duct cells secrete a bicarbonate fluid, which is alkaline, and it's for hydration. And so what's the result of this? Well, it creates an optimal pH, and this optimal pH is for micelle formation. So if you remember the gallbladder, the liver, secretes bile salts, which allow fat absorption by forming these micelles. Well, the optimal pH from the pancreatic duct cells secreting the alkaline solution, that allows the micelle formation. Not only is it an optimal pH for micelle formation, but the alkaline, the bicarbonate, also neutralizes the gastric acid, and the result of that is it's an optimal environment for digestion and absorption of the fatty acids, amino acids, etc. So what stimulates the pancreatic duct cells? Well, the pancreatic duct cells are stimulated by secretin, and if you remember, that comes from S4 duodenal S cells. Duodenal S cells, they're stimulated by, well, you can probably guess it. If the duct cells are secreting alkaline to neutralize acid, the secretin is stimulated by acid. The acidic chyme causes an increase in secretin, which stimulates the pancreatic duct cells to release bicarbonate. So let's have a little think, right? So what causes, how does the pancreatic duct cell secrete the bicarbonate? Well, the method by which duct cells secrete this bicarbonate, it looks complicated, but it's really not that bad. Well, essentially, let's first think, where does the bicarbonate come from? Well, the bicarbonate comes from two places. It either comes from the reaction between water and carbon dioxide, catalyzed by carbonic anhydrase to produce bicarbonate and acid, and a proton, or it comes from sodium bicarbonate transporter from the basolateral side, so from the basolateral side, right? So that's where the bicarbonate comes from. So how does the bicarbonate how is it secreted from the duct cells? Well, it's secreted using a chloride bicarbonate exchanger mechanism. Now this chloride bicarbonate exchanger, if the bicarbonate is leaving the duct cell, then it's implying, because it's an exchange, it's implying that the chloride is coming into the duct cell. Is coming into the duct cell. So the chloride is coming into the duct cell, and the bicarbonate in water is getting secreted by this exchanger on the duct cell, right? So this chloride, once it goes back into the duct cell, what happens? Well, it goes back into the cell. It goes back out. Sorry. So it's come in through this exchanger, and then it leaves the duct cell again through this chloride channel called the CFTR channel. And this opens, so the chloride diffuses out. So if we think about this in a different way, essentially you've got chloride in the cell, it diffuses out through the CFTR channel, and you've got bicarbonate in the cell. So you've got chloride out of the cell, bicarbonate in the cell. The chloride comes back into the cell using through chloride bicarbonate exchanger, and through the same exchanger, bicarbonate is secreted from the duct cell. Okay. Now, if you remember, I said that the secretin from duodenal S cells, that stimulates the secretion of bicarbonate from duct cells. So how does this happen? Well, secretin stimulates the pKa pathway this time. So if you remember, in the pancreatic acinar cells, it's the same method, same mechanism. Secretin stimulates the CAMP pKa adenyl cyclase pathway, and what this does is it stimulates two things. It stimulates the CFTR channel to stay open, so that the chloride can diffuse out, so that when it comes back in, the bicarbonate can leave through the exchanger. And the secretin also stimulates the sodium bicarbonate transporter on the basolateral side to provide the bicarbonate. So what's the effect of secretin on pancreatic duct cells? Well, it stimulates the secretion of bicarbonate in water into the lumen through two mechanisms. It stimulates the CFTR channel, the chloride channel, so chloride can diffuse out, and it stimulates the production of bicarbonate from the provision of bicarbonate from the sodium bicarbonate transporter. So as I said, secretin, it comes from duodenal S cells. And what stimulates them? Well, because the end product is, like I said, the end product is the secretion of bicarbonate. So it's going to be fat and acid. That's the most important thing that's stimulating the duodenal S cells to release secretin, which stimulates the duct cells to open the CFTR channel so that chloride can diffuse out. And when the chloride comes back in through the exchanger, bicarbonate can leave, and ultimately you've got bicarbonate and water secretion. And one more thing to remember is that this whole thing is made possible, the secretion of bicarbonate, by this chloride recycling. So if you just remember that, chloride recycling enables bicarbonate secretion. And it's also stimulated, so duodenal S cells, pancreatic duct cells even, they're stimulated not only by secretin, but also by acetylcholine, which acts through the PKC cycle, PKC pathway, but this is less significant than the secretin. So you can remember this by, so this is a summary here. So secretin stimulates the CFTR channel, so the chloride can leave, re-enter by the chloride bicarbonate exchanger, and bicarbonate can be secreted from the duct cells. So we mentioned the CFTR channel. Well, what can go wrong in this duct cell secretion of bicarbonate in water? Well, essentially it's cystic fibrosis. If you have a CF gene mutation, and then you have cystic fibrosis, then this chloride channel by which the chloride leaves the duct cell, the CFTR channel, it's mutated. And so you have a loss of chloride recycling, a loss of it leaving the cell and then re-entering by the chloride bicarbonate exchanger. So therefore, less bicarbonate is secreted and less water is secreted from the duct cells. So essentially, the acinar cells are working fine, they're secreting their protein secretions, but the duct cells are not able to modify the secretions by adding bicarbonate and water. So you have, as a result of cystic fibrosis, you have thicker protein secretions from the pancreas. And what happens is, because you have thick protein secretions, the ducts get obstructed. The intercalated interlobular main duct is ductal obstruction because of these thick protein secretions. And when you've got ductal obstruction, it builds up, and the pancreatic tissue itself is destroyed. If the pancreatic tissue is destroyed, well, what's part of the pancreas? Well, you've got the acinar cells that make the enzymes, the lipases and zymogens for protein digestion. So you have enzyme deficiency. If you have enzyme deficiency, then you're going to have a fat malabsorption, because you won't be able to break down the fats into fatty acids to absorb them. So therefore you'll have steatorrhea. Urea means feces, and steat means fatty, so fatty stool essentially. But the pancreas also contains beta cells, if you remember. So beta cells produce insulin, which controls glucose. It lowers the glucose levels in the body. So if you've got pancreatic destruction as a result of cystic fibrosis, causing thicker protein secretions, pancreatic destruction, not only will you have enzyme deficiency and steatorrhea, but you also have beta cell destruction causing diabetes. So if you can look at that as a whole, so CF gene mutation, cystic fibrosis, mutated CFTR channel. Cystic fibrosis results in less bicarbonate and water secretions from duct cells because of this mutated channel, which damages the pancreas, causing steatorrhea and diabetes.